Hey there. This week, I want to talk to you about learning how to trust yourself and the decisions that you make based on your intuition or your inner knowing. So, when I first started learning about my intuition, it was a few years ago now. I believe I took my first class in spring of 2020. And if it wasn't 2020, it was 2021. It's probably 2021. It was a few months after my dad died and we were still in the pandemic, still working remotely, mostly staying away from people. And I had always been really curious about my intuition and about psychic capabilities and things like that, but I didn't really know where to go to get more information. When I was a kid, I remember learning that my mom was very intuitive and she could see things or feel things. There was a point where I almost drowned in the ocean. And when I came home, I didn't say anything to her, but she looked at me and she said, "What happened?" This was before cell phones were really popular. And she said, there was a point during the day where I felt like something came over me and I just couldn't breathe. What happened? And I told her, I said, well, there was a sneaker wave that came up at the Oregon coast and took me out. And it was crazy because my dad was about 10 feet in front of me and there was another couple walking about 10 or 15 feet behind me. And the wave only came and got me. So she felt that. And she said it just had to be intuition. She would also see things. She would also go to psychic fairs when I was a kid. And I remember her taking me to one when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And I remember seeing my aura in an aura photo. We went to an aura photo booth. And I just thought it was so cool that you could see all the colors around my head. And I was so curious, but I didn't know how to unlock it. And I didn't think that I was intuitive at all. Turns out that my intuition is just different than my mom's, but I am, in fact, intuitive, like you probably are as well. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. There was something else I wanted to say about intuition and trusting and unlocking those skills, but I don't quite remember. So I'm going to move on. So I'm going to give you a couple of steps to learn how to trust your intuition. First of all, I'm going to actually explain to you what it is. Your intuition is that inner knowing. Your intuition comes to you or you become aware of it because you start perceiving or recognizing you're getting information that's beyond your five senses in this 3D world. So you've heard of the five senses, and we have more of that, more than just five, but it's sight, taste, touch, smell, and feeling, right? And in the 3D world, it's the things you can see with your eyes, the smell you can smell next to you, the sound that you can hear that's coming, you know where it's coming from. But in the intuitive or energetic world, there's an understanding that you can perceive things beyond what you can physically see. So if this is a little bit uncomfortable for you, I want to encourage you to go back to your high school physics class where we learned that everything is made of energy and that energy has an impact on other things going on in this world because energy impacts each other. It interacts or it bumps into or it moves things. So the same way that you can feel heat coming from something, but you can't see the heat is the same way that you can perceive information using your intuition, even if you can't see the source of the information, even if you can't put your hand on it directly. So as it relates to the five senses, we call them clair senses, where you are perceiving information related to your most common five senses, but it's beyond this 3D world. So you might hear the voice of your grandmother who's passed away, or the voice of a spirit or an ancestor, or even just the voice of wisdom that says, don't go that way. And you don't really know where it's coming from, but you hear it in your head. And that voice doesn't always show up like a person's voice, but it's like an understanding as if you've heard something or as if it's been said. There's also clairvoyance, which is the seeing. Some people see things in a movie scene. Some people see an image of the word. Some people see a situation. Some people, like me, I don't see an image, but there's an understanding when I'm reading for someone that the language I use is I see this. Even if I don't see it with my eyes, there's like an understanding. And the best way that I can describe it is that I'm seeing this thing. There's also clairgustance, which is where you taste something. So maybe you used to eat your favorite piece of candy with your best friend, and they're on the other side of the world now living their life. And all of a sudden you taste that candy that you used to eat. And your friend doesn't have to be passed away at all. Not at all. People can still be here and you can still be sharing and sending energy and reading energy. And if you taste that candy and then your friend calls, you taste that candy and you call your friend and they're like, oh, I was just needing to talk to you, or I was just thinking about you. That could be information that you have received from them, even though they're not right in front of you. So it goes all the way through all of the senses. The clair part means clear. And that also means that you are tapping into more than just this three-dimensional realm, but you are perceiving even the things that you cannot see. So I have been working on unlocking my intuition for the last few years since the pandemic. So I guess about 6 years now, 5 or 6 years now. And I'm also at the point where I am teaching other people how to become intuitive readers. So we're talking about the universal principles of energy, and I'm teaching people how to tune in to their intuition. And it is a really fun process. And it's also helping me to go back and revisit some of the things that I learned and some of the practices that I had, and allowing me to actually explore a little bit more. And in addition to this, I'm really excited about this. I've done my first teacher training at Asha's place. I created a 6-week program that you've been hearing me talk about called Reset, and I'm actually teaching other people how to teach it. So we're going to launch more versions of it in English, but also in Spanish and in Portuguese, and I'm so excited. But at the end of the Reset training, I told the trainees, said, you need to trust your intuition. When you guide a group of people, trust that you will know when it's time to close the group for the day, when it's time to move forward in a topic, when it's time to change the subject, when it's time to go deeper. Trust that you will know, that you have some wisdom, that you will be able to read the situation using all of your senses, psychic, or even just this 3D realm, to know what to do. And I remember being a baby reader and being so afraid to say anything because I didn't want to be wrong and I didn't trust myself. And I remember my teacher telling me, Asha, just trust yourself, just test it. And it was so hard to do. I was even talking about this with one of my friends who is also in the trainer course to teach other people how to become readers. And we were talking about how sometimes when we know something and we haven't said anything about it, and then it comes back to be true, how we're like, dang it, I should have said that, or I wish I would have clocked it. Even a couple months ago, my neighbor across the hall from me here in Portugal, he passed away. And I knew that he was going to pass away. He had terminal cancer, and I had the fortune of knowing him for a few months before he passed away. I moved in here in October, and he passed away at the end of February. And I remember walking home one night and I just started feeling sick. And I don't normally feel sick. And I was thinking I had gotten off the bus and I do get a little motion sick, but that wasn't what it was. And I just remember feeling like, ugh, what is this? And it just flashed in my head. I wonder if John is okay. I wonder if he just passed away. And I don't even know what made me think about John. The sickness that he had, he was experiencing pain at the end of his life, but I felt like nauseous kind of sick. So it didn't make logical sense to me that I would be feeling this. But I wanted to know if I was correct in what I was feeling. So I was walking with a friend of mine and I said, hey, I feel really sick right now. And I wonder if John just passed away. And he said, no, don't think like that. And I'm like, well, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is. But I remember thinking, I want to say this because if I don't say it and then later I find out it's true, I'm going to wonder if I really thought that or if I just made it up. So I said it. And then the next day, John's girlfriend texted me and said that he had passed away. Actually, it was 2 days later, and said that he had passed away the day after I felt sick. And I thought, oh, I wonder if his, spirit was moving on before his body had actually shut down. And I have only felt that, I think, once or twice. And it wasn't a scary thing. It was just kind of a knowing. Claircognizance is just an awareness, a knowing. But I did it. I said what I needed to say because I just wanted to test it. So that brings me to how you begin to trust your intuition, because it's this thing that is playing in the background. Your intuition is not loud at all, unless you are someone who receives big, bright, loud, neon sign kind of messages. And you might receive that, let's say, if you're in a dangerous situation, or if you're applying for a new job and want to know where to go, it can drop in quite loudly. But your normal everyday intuition is often quite subtle, very subtle. Another example for me, the police have been coming to the studio because there's some economic requirements that I have to meet. That just sounds crazy, especially coming from the US. Anyway, the long story short is that I have to have the right economic activity code selected in the tax portal in Portugal for me to be able to do the business activities that I want. And they will send the police by and check that you have the right economic activities. And the penalty if you don't is that they could shut you down. In the US, they would probably just assess a fee if you didn't have it. They wouldn't dare shut you down because they want you to make money so you could pay the fee, right, for not doing it. So people get really scared when the police come by or when there's anything that has to do with compliance in Portugal, because it is actually quite hard to comply with the business laws in Portugal, and it's quite frustrating. But I remember just thinking one day, I think I woke up around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I know that when I wake up at that point in time, there's something that I'm supposed to be aware of, something that I'm supposed to think about. And it just kind of dropped in, go to the police station and talk to them. And I thought, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, the reason why I think that was my intuition rather than my thinking brain is because everybody that I had spoken to, including my neighbors around Asha's place, are terrified of the police, and their thought is to fly under the radar, not to call any more attention to yourself. So they would rather like close down when the police come than to ask, hey, what is it that I need? What are you looking for? Let me know what I can do to be in compliance. And it was so subtle. It was just a quick thought, and then it kind of went away. And I am following that thread so that I can be in compliance, which is countercultural to how people kind of operate out here. And so let me get to it. Here's how you begin to trust your intuition. It's going to feel totally weird. You're going to feel like you're not sure what you're doing, but I have a couple of suggestions. The first one is when a thought comes to you, whether it is a thought that wakes you up in the middle of the night, something that you're processing, you could call it a night note. That's what my teacher calls it. Or if you're just standing someplace and some thought crosses your mind, or it might not even be a thought. That's how intuition shows up for me. Sometimes it feels like a thought, and sometimes I'm not sure if it's mine or if it's intuition. And so my recommendation is to write down what you think that you are hearing. Keep a little notebook or keep a log in your phone or something like that, and write down what you think that you're hearing. And then at some point later, you'll know whether or not that thing has come true, whether it was accurate, or it'll make sense later. The difficult thing about intuition is that it is not obvious most of the time when you're receiving the message. And so it does take some trust to be able to listen to it. So I wrote down, go to the police station and speak to the police. I will know later whether that's the right move or not, but I'm pretty sure that it is for my situation. I didn't write it down when I felt sick thinking about John, but I told my friend so that he could remember. And then later I received confirmation that what I was feeling was accurate. Okay. So write it down, keep a little log for yourself so you can trust it. And then that way you won't gaslight yourself and go, oh, maybe I just made it up. Because sometimes intuition can feel like a dream. I don't know about you, but I don't typically remember my dreams at night. I might wake up and know that I had a dream. It's really fresh. And then when I start trying to recall it, it disappears. Sometimes intuition can be like that as well. The second thing that you can do is take little steps to trust it. So maybe you're in the grocery store and something tells you to go down this aisle and not the other one. Maybe something tells you to go to this store and not the other one. Maybe something tells you to call this friend on this day. Trust it and see what happens. I can give you an example from a couple weeks ago of when I didn't listen to that little nudge, and I don't necessarily have regrets, but I do understand now why I was thinking about it. A friend of mine went back home to the States because her parents are sick, and she had been heavy, heavy, heavy on my mind. And I thought, oh no, let me not text. She's probably busy and, stuff is happening. And I was busy over here too, but I kept thinking about it. Then about a week later, she ended up messaging me that her mom had passed away. And now there wasn't anything that I could have done from afar, right? But it might have been nice to know that I was thinking about her at the time that her mom was transitioning. And I really think that I was thinking about her and had more of a heightened sense of awareness because she was going through something. We had talked about it before she left, and I was connected to that energy somehow. Now, is there any harm with me not texting? No, there's no harm. But I really wish that I would have listened to my intuition to reach out just so she had some extra support if she needed it during the time. So don't be afraid to follow that little nudge, even if you're not entirely sure why it is nudging you or where you're going to go with it. Now, the third thing that you can do to test your intuition is to ask for a sign from the universe. Ask for a confirmation. I read this book. I forget what it's called. I'll look it up and put it in the show notes, but it was written by this woman whose mother had passed away. And it was talking about how often our loved ones will show up in different signs, whether it is a plant that you happen to see or a butterfly that you see, or a lot of people choose hummingbirds as representatives of their loved ones that have passed on. But the book tells us, and I do believe that it's true, that the universe will conspire to meet you where you are, but you can choose a sign that you want to receive as confirmation. It could be something as generic and kind of random as seeing a coin on the ground, or it could be spotting an orchid, or it could be, I don't know, a plane from a certain brand or something like that, a certain airline. It could be anything that you want. I would say probably not something like a plane, but anything that you want. It could be as open-ended as send me a message that I'll know. And then just be really, really open to what shows up. Really, really open to what shows up. So I'm actually going to challenge you, if you are thinking about sharpening your intuition and increasing its volume, I'm going to challenge you right now to actually ask for a sign from the universe so that you can know that the universe is listening. And I want you to pick something that you will know that when you see it, it's come from the universe. It's come from your guides, your ancestors, or universal energy, or God, or whatever you call that spirit energy, so that you know without a doubt that this is the universe answering your request. So it could be a coin. I met a woman a few months back that said she kept seeing playing cards, and she would see playing cards all over the world when she would travel. And it was really interesting because a couple days ago, outside of my front door of my apartment, I saw a playing card on the ground. Now, so many people come through the studio that I can't remember actually what her name was, but I thought about her, and so I hope she's okay. She's probably doing great since I saw a playing card on the ground. But whatever symbol that you want, maybe it'll be a song or a phrase, maybe it'll be some denomination of money, maybe it'll see a certain type of bird that you see, whatever it is, just to test it, just to see if the universe is real, if this stuff is real. Just ask for a sign from the universe that will confirm for you what you are seeing, hearing, experiencing, and feeling is real. And then please come back here and let me know how that goes for you. All right. This one, I hope will help you learn how to trust your intuition. We all have intuition. We all have it. It's not, some people have it more developed than others, but it's just a part of how we are born and made as humans. It is the ability to perceive things beyond the naked eye, let's say. And it's because we're made up of energy, and energy can perceive other energy. We are impacted by other energies. You feel it with heat, you feel it with cold, you feel it with, you can feel it when somebody is looking at you from across the room. Sometimes you feel it when someone is thinking about you, a loved one or somebody that you're interested in. So we've all had experiences with this, but I want you to get a little more comfortable with dialing it in, a little more comfortable with controlling it so you can see and you can have a conversation. Ask it to meet you exactly where you are. All right. I would love for you to join my mailing list. That is in the show notes below. Also, please take a look at Reset. That is the 6-week online and in-person course at Asha's Place for busy, burned out, exhausted Black women who are tired of feeling like they've done everything right and that something is missing. We also are running it as a 2-day retreat, July 3rd and 4th in Lisbon. Take a look at the show notes for that. And let me know if you have any questions. Ciao, ciao.